Hey guys, so I'm going to try to make this video kind of quick, but, and I'm making it on my phone, so it might be a little grainy and not very good quality, and obviously at first I was kind of like, oh, I should put on makeup because I have 2 giant zits, but then I was like, you know, whatever, this is me. So, if any of you have watched my videos before, you should know that the last video I made was a pregnancy announcement video, and I think everybody in my life already knows this story, but Logan and I, well, kind of just me, wanted to start making vlogs and things of that nature. Even though we don't have like a nice camera, I still think it's important for if you want to make vlogs and if you want to share, you know, your life and things that have happened with you with people. I don't think that it's a total requirement that you should have a nice camera. I mean, that's fine and whatever, but you know, there are things that we you know, that, I mean, it just hasn't come up. We're not a family that's been like, we don't make a whole lot of money, so it's not like, oh my god, we have to have a nice camera. We just don't have one of those, you know. So, you know, apologies for the graininess or whatever, but that's life. Anyway, yeah, the last video that I made was about my pregnancy, and it ended because, when was it? I think I made the video when I was like 9 weeks pregnant, so it was pretty early. And I knew from the jump that something wasn't right with this pregnancy. I couldn't tell you exactly what. I just had a really bad feeling that something was wrong. And so I discussed it with Logan a lot, but he's such an optimist that he was kind of just like, you need to stop thinking so negatively, everything's going to be fine, blah, 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 you know. But women's, especially mother's intuition, you can't, like, ignore it when you feel that way. I was really sick, and not just, like, morning sickness sick. I didn't feel right. I felt weak and just weird. And at one point, it wasn't like feeling pregnant and feeling sick. It was just like, I just felt sick, but I didn't feel pregnant. I just heard a firework outside. Anyway, so yeah, I had that going the whole time. And another thing was, I didn't gain, like, any weight. Like, my pregnancy ended at 20 weeks. And by that time with Remy, I had a belly. I had a bump by then, you know. And this time, I actually lost quite a bit of weight, probably from being sick, but, so, all in all, it went on, and I had an ultrasound at like 8 or 9 weeks, something around there. Anyway, it was early. I think it was my first appointment. I had some bleeding and some cramps, so I was like, I want an ultrasound to make sure this baby's okay, and, they gave it to me and everything was fine. Well, then I went for my 20-week anatomy scan, which everybody knows is when you find out the gender of your baby. And when we went, I took my mother with me, and it was my mother and Logan and my daughter Remy, and it was like, we went, and I still felt like something wasn't right, but when we were there, I was excited because I wanted to know what the baby was. So the ultrasound tech tells us that it's a girl. And, you know, we're all excited because that's what we wanted, another girl, you know. And we're telling Remy, you know, you're going to be a big sister and things like that. And then they told us to go wait in my doctor's office and that they would come, you know, talk to us or whatever. And we were in there waiting, and it took a really long time. And I was like, what's my doctor doing that's so important that he couldn't, like, come right back and talk to me? Like, he's going to talk to me for 2 seconds to send me out. And he comes back in and tells us that he has bad news and that our daughter has something called anencephaly. And anencephaly is a neural tube defect. It usually happens, like, at conception. So, if it happens, There's nothing you can do about it. There's, you know, basically nothing that you can do to prevent it. What I've read upon it is that a lot of the times it happens because there's not enough folic acid. And which would make sense, because with Remy, I was so on top of my folic acid, like every day I took folic acid. But when I got pregnant with my second baby, Remy was small, Logan was working all the time, I was sick, and it was hard for me to stay on top of my pills always. But I did take them, obviously. But the thing was, I hadn't taken them before. Like, usually if a baby develops anencephaly, it's usually because the mother hasn't already been on folic acid. Anencephaly is completely rare. It's so rare that it's like 1 in like 4,523 mothers will have a child with anencephaly. So it's extremely rare. And it affects the child's brain. They won't survive outside your body, and their brain won't grow. Basically what it is they're missing either the back or like the front portion of the brain, and it won't grow. So if they are born to term, they usually don't survive for, like, I think tops is like average just like 36 hours or something like that. So yeah, we were told that, and told that our child was not going to live outside of my body. Then we were left alone, and my doctor was very nice about everything. He was amazing. He told us that he would give us the night to talk everything over, and then we would come back in the morning and discuss what we wanted to do. And he gave me some, I think he like wrote down what it was called and told me to do my own research on it, which was good because, you know, my doctor's really good about, like, don't just take my word for it. Here, go do your own research if you want to. So we were kind of rocked with that. It was hard. It was it was the worst. It was one of the worst days of my life, to be honest with you. And we had to make a decision about carrying to term or being induced labor and birthing her early. Either way, basically our outcome was we weren't going to get to have our daughter, you know. So Logan and I talked it over, and I think the, like, initial shock for me was, either way, I'm going to have to go through labor and birth this child. Either way. If we waited till term or just then. Either way, I'm going to have to go through with birthing her, you know. They told us that because of how far along I was, the D&C was not an option. And we didn't want that anyway, because after Logan and I talked it over, we talked about the fact that we wanted to hold her, we wanted to be with her, we wanted to meet her and all that. And with the D&C, that would not have been, it would have been a completely medical procedure. It would have been wham bam, thank you ma'am, you're out, you don't get to meet your baby, nothing like that, you know. I won't go into gory details, but basically that's what's it. Sorry. And so we discussed it, and basically I don't really have to prove to anyone, to you, to anyone in the world, why I chose to be induced and have her early. But the main thing that I thought was, I have depression, I have anxiety, and I deal with those things. I take my medications every morning, and it helps keep me relatively normal. Not really, but I try, you know. That's the burden of having mental illness, you know. And I just knew in my heart of hearts that I couldn't go through with it. I couldn't go through with 20 more weeks of pregnancy, big belly kicks, you know, people in the public touching my stomach or asking me questions. I knew I couldn't do it. Basically what happened was, I wanted it to be all over. I wanted it to be like a bad dream, but it wasn't. It was my life, and that was the scariest part, was that it was my worst nightmare, but I was living it. So Logan and I, basically me, he left it up to me, you know, decided that that's what the route we were going to take. We were going to labor and deliver her at 20 weeks. And I'm going to stop this video right now because it's reaching the 10-minute mark. And I don't really know how long my phone takes videos for. So let's break this into 2 parts, okay?